Hi, my friends. Welcome to my channel. I'm Allie Wilkins. If it's your first time here, welcome. So today we're going to talk about soul goals versus ego goals. This is something that I also teach in my book, Sacred Wealth. But I just, being someone who studied personal development for a really long time, and it's still something that I'm, is a deep part of me. One of my top values is growth, and yours probably is too if you're here. And the personal development world, I think, really trickily can wrap us into a deep world of ego. So our egos are not bad things. Our egos serve to protect us, but they also can be something that inflates our sense of worthiness, or it's like this false inflation of what's actually real, false inflation of the mask sometimes. So with personal development, we hear things all the time about you need to play big. What are you here for? And I say this stuff all the time too, right? Like, what are you here for? What's your purpose here on earth? When you die, what is it that you actually want to have left here as your legacy? And it's so easy for us to get really trapped in this egocentric view of the world of like, oh, I'm here, I need to be this big person, I need to be a big influence on the planet, and I have a huge mission, and I have to be recognized for it, and I have to, setting these goals that are really about recognition or about being seen, being validated in what it is that we're doing. And so it's not like this is with poor intention. It's like most of us who are doing this, the intention is to be of massive service. However, would your ego be able to tolerate it if you never made it big? If your mission was actually more of a one-on-one sort of thing instead of a serving millions sort of thing. And understanding that first of all, just sitting in that, would you be okay if you weren't recognized by millions of people, if you didn't hit the New York Times bestseller list, which is fake, by the way, if you never served 1 million people to your knowledge with a tangible, would that be okay for you? What would happen to you internally? Because your soul doesn't care about any of that stuff. Your soul is like, I came here to learn specific lessons. That's what I'm here for. It doesn't necessarily mean, well, your soul straight up doesn't care about the numbers or the money or how beautiful your wife is or the cars that you have. Your soul doesn't care about that stuff. Your soul just cares about the experience and the essence of what you're here for, right? So in my book, I talk about soul goals versus ego goals. And I think that this is a really great thing for everyone to check in with, because heads up, we all have an ego. If we didn't have an ego, we wouldn't be on earth. Maybe you'd be the Dalai Lama or something, or some like an ascended master in a human body form, but you wouldn't be on earth anymore, most likely. So everybody's got an ego, and we're all being driven partially by our ego. So it's not like this person over here is so driven by their ego. Like, point that finger back at yourself, because you are too. What I'm asking you to sit with is just what is important to my soul and what is important to my ego, and being able to notice and observe both of those different things. So one thing that I do to check in with this is to ask yourself, when I'm on my deathbed, how will I feel if this particular thing doesn't happen? So for me, I think about writing books. I've wanted to write books since I was a child. I've always loved reading. It's been something that I've always gravitated towards. And so writing a book has been a goal for a long time before my ego ever could have been involved in it. Like, I want to be a New York Times bestseller. I want to be on Oprah's cruises. I want to be, in Oprah's book club. I want to be featured in Goop. I want to be like, before I would have cared about any of that stuff, right? I'm like, oh, I want to be an author. That feels like that just feels like it, And at what point, first of all, does that start to become diluted with it needs to look like this? So going back to my question, how would you feel on your deathbed if you didn't accomplish certain things? So if I'm like, I want to be on the New York Times bestseller list, my soul doesn't care about that. My soul cares that I wrote the book and that I showed up in my fullness to share it with people. Showing up in my fullness could mean a lot of different things, right? My soul does not care that it got into the hands of 45 million people. My ego cares about having tons of great reviews and having it being well received and talked about in publications so more people can see me and more people can be like, your book is so great, it changed my life, right? These feel like positive motivations. I want my book to get out there so that it can touch a lot of people, because what I wrote about helps me so much that I want it to help other people. My intention there is pure. However, it is still ego driven because it's about being seen, about my work being recognized in a certain way. And there might be different nuances to that, but I want you to think about this for yourself. Also, the reason that I started actually talking about soul goals and ego goals is like to help people when they're making their vision boards, thinking about, is this a soul goal or an ego goal, and removing the things that are just straight up ego goals. So I started out doing this years ago. I would have stupid goals like, I want to lose 10 pounds, which I say that this is a stupid goal, not to make fun of you if that's your goals. But it's like, your soul doesn't care about if you lose 10 pounds. Your soul cares about you feeling vital, you feeling healthy, you feeling alive. And if you are feeling over lethargic because you don't move your body enough, or because you're eating foods that make you feel slumpy, or, you're engaging in behaviors that aren't healthy for your physical body, your soul cares about you feeling vital. It doesn't care about what you weigh. That's an ego thing. Our egos care about what we weigh and what we look like, and that we're presentable, and that we can put on this pretty little mask for the world. That's what the ego cares about. The soul's like, how do you feel when you wake up in the morning, when nobody's around you? Maybe if you have a partner, your partner's already gone to work. Like, how do you feel when you wake up in the morning and you don't have anybody there? How does your body feel? That's a soul feeling. That's a soul goal. But you having the picture of the girl and I'm guilty of this. This is why I'm speaking about it, because I recognize this is messed up. This isn't what's actually important to me. Because me is my soul. Me isn't Allie, this character that I'm being in this particular lifetime that looks this particular way. My soul is me. My soul is me. Anyways, your soul goal is not having the perfect little outfit of the matching top and yoga pants. So when you go to your yoga retreat, you fit in with the group, right? Or it's not wrong for you to desire these certain things, like, oh, I want to have these cute clothes, or I want to have this sort of car. There's nothing wrong about it, but just know that your soul doesn't care about that. So where are you trying to create things from a space of ego versus from your soul? And I think for me, what actually is very important with this conversation is that when we tune into our soul goals, first of all, it cuts out all the BS. Also, it tunes us in with what's really important. It takes a lot of things off of our plate. Oh, my soul doesn't actually care about me being a top 10 book, or me having a top 10 book, or me having this amount of followers. My soul doesn't get any sort of pleasure from that, actually. My ego does. So if I was operating just from my soul, I would probably remove a lot of suffering, right? This is literally like what the ascension process is. Your ego dissolves, just like the caterpillar that liquefies as it turns into the butterfly. Your ego completely dissolves, and you are the most innate essence of you. You turn into that natural, you become again that nature that's your essence completely. The ego puts on all of this concrete over us that makes us forget who we are. The ego is not an evil thing. It protects us. It keeps us safe to an extent, but also we get to remove the ego and see what's going on actually underneath. And when we remove the ego, we remove the suffering. This is so much of what like Zen spiritualism teaches, what, a lot of the ancient wisdom practices and teachings share. How do we remove suffering? We stop aligning with the mind, with our ego mind. We attune to the heart. So there's so much I could say about this, but what I want to leave you with here is really just thinking about what is important to your soul and how can you allow yourself to remove the other things. Also, when you think about what's important to your soul, you're probably more likely to manifest what it is that you actually desire. So another example of this could be like, okay, I want a man who is my next partner. I want him to be 6'6", and I want him to have dark hair and be tan and have this sort of build, and I want him to have this sort of job, and I want him to have this, this is what I want him to be looking to be like in the world. Your soul's like, I want to feel loved. I want to feel seen. I want to feel heard. I want to feel appreciated. Actually, that probably is still a version of your ego, but it's a little bit, it's like in between the soul and the ego, because the soul's like, I just am. So in between the soul and ego is like, I want to feel safe. I want to feel understood. I want to feel accepted. And the ego's like, no, he needs to have this sort of hair, and that might not actually be the best thing for you. That in-between space in this specific example actually knows what is most important to you, and that might look different than what your ego wants it to look like. So tuning into, where are my ego goals potentially hurting me? Where am I acting from a space of ego identification instead of from my soul? This is like a deep inquiry. It's not something that you might come up with a few things immediately, but you also might not. And it also allows you to remove, to notice, oh, that's just my ego. That's actually not, wouldn't say it's not important, but I would say, oh, that's just an ego thought. So that's actually not really the truth. It allows you to see certain belief systems that just aren't important and that you can kind of let go of. So anyways, I'd love to hear what comes up for you just in this conversation. I know it's pretty deep inquiry for you to go into internally, but I'd love to hear your thoughts, your reflections, what this brings up for you. If there's any other questions about this that you'd like me to go deeper in on another video, or just that you want to share, I would love to hear. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you received value from this video. And if you did, please please comment, and subscribe to the channel. I'd love to have you in this community. So anyways, I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye.